Lucky,
Jonah.
welcome back. I'm noticing that right now, live thoughts, I'm feeling way more comfortable than the previous ones. Like, I feel like we've been pretty comfortable, but you can't help but notice the microphone in front of your face. And I'm just noticing now that I'm just feeling way more comfortable about it, and still with the same excitement. And I'm actually bummed because we won't see each other for, is it like 3 weeks now?
Yeah, 3.
I'm away for 15 days, and then halfway through that, you go away.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually bummed that we're not going to be able to hit this space for a little while. I feel like I'm going to have heaps to talk about.
And do it online.
We can. That's so true. So I'm excited and relaxed. That's how I'm feeling about this. So, Lockie, at the end of the last episode, you asked us a question, and the question was, has there been an experience that's changed the way that we have thought or acted? And it's not that exact question, but something along those lines. I'm wondering if you have a story for us.
I'm clutching.
Okay.
I'm going way back. I wanted to find a story from this week, so in between the 2 episodes. But I'm gonna go way back into when I started in the industry. I feel like we finished last episode talking about ourselves and our journey to where we are now. And I spoke a lot about this Cracker's character. Something that he taught me without me knowing was how to make a fool of yourself to connect with people better. And I think when I came into the industry and started doing my training and started working with groups and clients of mixed ages, I tried to be myself, per se. I think that's one of the big things that's encouraged, is to be yourself. But I was too scared, or I was unaware that making a fool of yourself and like throwing jokes on yourself actually makes people click with you a lot. And so I think something I experimented for a long time, I think I still experiment now, is what are some techniques and things I can do and say to almost become like a real life character. Because we all know a character here and there somewhere from a movie or a cartoon or something, and they become very memorable for either the way they talk, the way they act, the way they look. And so I feel like within our industry, we almost have a ability to become a character. And without faking it, you can be yourself, but add a bit of sarcasm, have a bit of banter, walk funny, move funny, make funny expressions and noises. Like, I think that's what, it's a bit of like a long experience. It's happened over, say, a period of 3 years or so. But, yeah.
Nice. I was just thinking about what you just said about kind of like putting on a character, but it's still who you are. I'm like naturally introverted, and so when you're standing in front of 25 high schoolers, I can't be as naturally introverted as I normally am, and so I kind of put on my extrovert self, and I become like outdoor guide Jonah, and it's very much me, but I have to do some very intentional things to be that extrovert character. So it's 100% me, but it's just not like the introvert me. I like that. My story goes way back too.
Love it.
An experience, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to springboard my story into the conversation topic that we've got for us tonight. So
come on.
So the topic is experiential learning. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the previous podcast.
Mention it again.
But I'll mention it again.
Refresher.
I'm not from Australia. I was born in England, and I moved to Australia when I was 14 years old. And I fake a massive Aussie accent to fit in.
You do well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That means everything.
There are some words you say where you can tell.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you do very well.
So growing up, a lot of my mum's side of the family is quite heavily into like board games and card games. Especially my grandma. So my mum's mum, not only does she love it, but she was incredibly good at games, like very strategic mind, loved, the fun element, very competitive. So growing up, between like the ages of like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, she would be like, "Oh, Jonah, do you want to play a game?" And so we'd play a game, and Grandma had zero mercy when it came to playing games. So even if I was 6 years old, even if I was 8 years old, if we're playing a card game, like, she's out to win. And it was devastating, and I don't, in my memory, I don't recall ever winning a game against my grandma. And my mum is very similar, just has a wicked hand, very quick, very clever, wins a lot, competitive. And so I grew up playing games and losing, and that was my experience. Okay. So and I've just been thinking about it today because I wanted to share this story. And so I thought, if we're talking about experiential learning, what did I learn from the experience of playing games with my grandma and losing? What have I learned? Okay, so here's the positive thing that I learned. I learned to be a graceful winner.
Mm.
So when I started winning, or when I would win against somebody else, younger than me or whatever, I know how it feels to lose, and I know what it feels like to look at a winner and see them win. And so I didn't want to be a winner that rubs it in their face. I want to be a graceful, like, good game, shake hand, very sportsmanlike, or even like not fully acknowledge it to the person who's lost, because I know they would be devastated. So what I learnt from the experience is that I am a graceful winner, but on the other side of the coin, I would say I'm a sore loser, because when I lose, I am reminded of that experience as a young boy, losing against grandma and losing against mum, and so I don't think I lose very well. So if I know I'm going to lose, I'll start breaking rules, like, and I'll have this air of like cheekiness, like I'm just lighthearted about it. So I'll start breaking rules or bending them, but it's because I'm triggered, because I'm a sore loser. Or if I can't do that, if I just flat out lose, I'll quit a game early, or I'll go off in a half. Like, I'm that kind of character. And to the point where in my teenage years, if someone asked, like, do you want to play a game, I would say no and wouldn't play games. And I would follow it up with a sentence, and my sentence was, if I don't play, I won't lose. Like, and that's how I live my life around board games and card games. I grew up playing basketball, love playing basketball. Again, sore loser when I lost. But we play games, like sports games, all that kind of stuff, but never board games or card games. And I have to be in the right mood even now to play, and have to so consciously in my head be like, if I win, I'm going to be graceful. If I lose, it's okay. Like,
Oh, we're playing a board game one night. That's for sure.
And so the point of the story is, I had an experience, and whether I knew it or not, I learnt something from it. I learnt I didn't like losing, or I learnt that I really wanted to win. And so this idea of experiential learning is that experiences shape us. We talk also a lot about like learning styles. And so some people are like visual, some people are hearing, some people are doing. And so there's different ways that you learn, but I think experiences shape us, and the way that we think, and the way that we behave, and the way that we act. I am not going to get into psychology because I know nothing about it, except for that my wife is studying it. And she will say, like, she tells me a lot about how experiences as young kids are hugely like shape us massively in the way that we operate and the way that the way that we react. And so our experiences of our parents and our experiences of schooling and highs and lows, they begin to teach us. So you and I have an incredible opportunity to provide experiences for people that they can potentially learn something. And in our industry, I think the gift that we have is that we can teach people new things, or we can like rewrite narratives. So like the story that I have about playing games, if I'm up for it, I could learn to rewrite that narrative if I have an experience.
Maybe you just need to find the game.
that I'd never lose at.
Yeah. You gotta keep losing, play some games until you find the game.
I just don't think my mind's cut out for card games. Like in that regard, I just can't think a couple steps ahead. I'm just like, I'm still trying to figure out how to hold a deck of cards in my hand, and people are like 3 moves ahead, and I'm like, I hate this.
I love the line you said, which I want to use so much more.
Please.
If I don't play, I can't lose.
But
It's so good.
But if you zoom out, that is such a poor way of living. If I don't play, I don't lose. Like, I used to say that to people.
Yeah.
If I don't play, I don't lose.
You got the other people that are like, but if you don't play, you can't win.
Yeah, and I go,
What about the win?
I would rather not lose than win.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been in these conversations with people. Man.
That whole story in terms of an experience that's more external to our work.
Yes.
It reminds me of a bit of my childhood way before even high school. I spent close to like 7 years, I'm not sure what age I started, but 7 years on my front driveway learning to juggle. And juggling is a wild concept because in terms of experience, the experience is failure. Every single time.
I love when you talk about this. I love it.
It's crazy.
I love it.
Every time you decide to juggle, you know you're going to drop most of the time, unless you're a psycho professional. But you're guaranteed to drop way more than you catch when you're learning and going through the stages. Even once you're really good and you're training, generally, what I would force myself to go until failure.
Yeah.
And I think what that taught me is something we now know as growth mindset. And it's always like, I don't know the juggling, the term for it, of growth mindset, but you know you're signing up for something that's hard and difficult. And if you take the time to like do trial and error and use every failure as an experience to learn, then you're going to do well. If you have the opposite of like a fixed mindset, you're like, oh, I can't juggle. And when I started in schools, primary school, someone would throw a ball at me and it would be like the cartoon where it flies over, hits you in the forehead and you like hug yourself.
The late reaction.
Yeah, because you're that uncoordinated. And then I just chose one time to watch YouTube and learn. I used to go and watch all the circuses when they're in town. I don't know what the plural of circus is.
Circi.
Circi.
That's just one.
Yeah.
Circus.
A circus.
Yeah, that's tough. I've never thought about it.
I like circi.
Yeah. When the circi rolled in.
Pie.
Yeah.
And watching the people there, it was just flawless. And they're doing something that you just can't comprehend. But when you take the time to go through the process and learn it, I would record myself and watch it back over and over and over. And people would teach me. And the thing that was making me drop was not my hand position. It was the way my foot was facing. And I couldn't comprehend how such a small detail would change. And I think that looking backwards is a big experiential learning space.
For
The experience was like learning to juggle and build coordination, but the learning side of it was that like you're always going to fail. You're going to constantly do it over and over and over, maybe like 100 times in 1 hour. But how do you like pick back up and keep going and like get better and better? It's after like years and years of pushing the same thing. And I feel now it's a skill that you could give me anything. People ask me all the time, can you juggle this? Can you juggle that?
I've done it. I've been that person.
You've been that person.
Take this chainsaw.
Not the chainsaw. But yeah, I think for me, external to work, that's a crazy thing that I kind of popped into my head whilst you were talking about your board games. I think, although board games and juggling are very different, I think the concept and the position we'll both put in, or we put ourselves in, they correspond really well.
Here's something I'm thinking about. I haven't been to many circus.
I love this.
But when the person came out that was juggling, they were juggling things like knives and, large pieces of fruit or whatever. Very impressive. And if you want to take a metaphor and turn it, and, in our classic way, get weird with it, if the person juggling made a mistake and dropped things, the crowd applauded anyway because it's impressive. And so even when you get to that level, obviously they don't want to drop. They want to be able to go behind the curtain still juggling. or catch everything. But if you dropped a knife or a ball or whatever, everyone just clapped anyway because it's impressive. It actually doesn't matter if you fail. What matters is what you do if you fail.
For sure. I love this. There's a guy, I'm going to name drop, which is crazy on the podcast. His name is Cody. I won't go full in, but he is an outrageous juggler. He is so good. He's incredible. I've watched him like grow, learn, and develop. He met me as a very youngin when I was fresh into it, and something that I observed from him is he would do upwards of like 10, well, I think 10 and 11 rings is like what he does. He loves rings, juggling rings, and he'll do it under the big top, and he'll give it 1 or 2 attempts, and he'll drop. But that's what like shows the crowd it's actually hard.
Yeah.
If you just pull out 11 rings, smash it first go, and then look for your round of applause, you get a round of applause because it's crazy, but you did it first try.
Everyone's like, man, it's easy because he makes it look easy.
Yeah.
But it might not be at all.
Yeah, I think that's what the way you say that is awesome. I think
It doesn't matter that you fail. It matters what you do when you fail.
you gotta learn from it.
Man.
You gotta move forward.
Um,
That's experiential learning. Wrap it up.
That's experiential learning. I've just been writing things down and trying to remember things because we have gone off script.
We do that.
So a part of my job is that I get to look after and coach and guide and mentor some young adults, and they come and live on site and do a bit of an internship where we work. A part of the course is that we take them away and we go see other campsites around Australia. One year we were down south and I had found a guy who takes people out fly fishing. And so we just booked in, we had 4 interns and we arrived at accommodation, and then this guy, I wish I could remember his name, but he just came and picked up our 4 interns and they went fly fishing. And we didn't go. And they were out for a couple hours and they came back and showed us photos, and they're wearing those big overalls and standing in the middle of a river and fly fishing. So they told us about it. And I was with my boss, and my boss is a genius of drawing out learnings from experiences. And so he sat them down and we listened to their stories, and then he looked at one of the interns and he said, "What did you not learn about fly fishing?" And they were like, "What?" And he was like, what did you learn, but what did you learn not about fly fishing?" And watching them trying to be like, what is happening? Like,
Where are you
and trying
going
to figure
with
out this question. And I was like staring at my boss being like, this is genius. Like, you've just unpacked an experience and then you've gone, okay, well you had an experience about fly fishing, but what else have you learned that is so unrelated to fly fishing but could have only happened through fly fishing? And so then we unpack the experience. And it's pushing on to some things that I'll talk about a bit later, but you need somebody to guide you through an experience in some experiences. That's really crucial. But I love that question of like, what did you not learn? What did you not learn about juggling? And you're going, well, I learned that growth mindset. That's what you didn't learn about juggling. Awesome.
Juggling is the vehicle. It's not the destination.
No.
The destination is what you don't learn. And I think you said you need someone to guide you through, but I think for you to find that gold and develop from that, you need someone to ask you that question. You need someone to turn your brain from what we're doing right now has nothing to do with why we're doing it.
Right now. Yeah.
We're using this as an example of something much bigger.
100%.
And something you can use here. You can use it back at home. You can use it within a friendship. You can use it wherever you want.
Yeah. Just on a side note, just before you said that you didn't know the word, but it's like kind of like growth mindset. I've been stuck on a word recently that you might enjoy.
Circi.
That will haunt me now. The word is resolve. Resolve. And one of the definitions of resolve is to make progress in dissonance. So dissonance is like it's a bit chaotic, or it's not smooth, and it's disjointed, and it's messy, and it's hard. But if you have resolve, you are able to make progress in the dissonance. And something about that word has stuck with me this year so far.
I love when you give me a definition and there's a word in the definition that needs a definition.
Dissonance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said it.
I looked at your face and I was like, okay. No.
Yeah, explain that one.
It's it's used in like music. Like a dissonant note is like a couple of notes that play together and it sounds off. Like it sounds like it clashes. It doesn't really work. It's not harmonious. It's dissonant. It's not resolved. Yeah. Anyway, so I just thought like that's a very interesting learning lesson through an experience. And it's almost like I would suggest, I haven't thought about this statement, so don't shoot me down, but you can only learn resolve through experience. You can only learn to have progress in distance if you are experiencing dissonance and you're making progress in it. I can't learn it by thinking about it. I have to do it.
So you're cooking. This is great.
Let me keep going. There's something else like patience. You can't just learn patience. You learn patience through experience. I can't just become more patient. I have to endure a really difficult group and stay calm and collective and reach that point of like, I have no more patience, and then keep going. And that's the only way I can learn more is through an experience.
You can't measure patience. You can't see patience unless...
Come on.
Like, you don't see patience with an incredible group that's super switched on and want to be there.
It's not required. Patience isn't required.
It doesn't exist. I love that.
Yeah. Come on. Okay, so I have some thoughts. I believe there is a healthy way to learn from experience and there's an unhealthy way to learn from experiences. This is what I think. A healthy way to engage in experiential learning is like this: dissection, reflection, and direction.
Oh, I love the shuns.
Yeah, I tried to do it for the next one, but I couldn't do it.
That's okay.
So a healthy way is dissecting, reflecting, I've changed it to ing now, and directing. Okay, so for you and I, Lockie, in our industry, we will go through an experience. So let's use rock climbing, because everyone understands kind of what rock climbing is.
Climbing up a rock.
You're climbing up a rock face, and a place that we work, we have a 10-meter rock climbing wall. Okay, so if a participant, an adult or a kid, has the experience, there's a moment that we have to dissect what's happening. We have to break it down into its components. So it had a start, and it had probably a brief, and it had some safety things, and then it had you trying to understand how our belay system works and experiencing that, and you can dissect that experience, and then you can dissect the moment of getting clipped in with a helmet and harness and starting to climb and trusting your teammates to belay. Like you dissect every section, and then you move into like reflection, and so you're kind of reflecting thoughts and feelings within those little moments, and then from there you have like the direction, which is like based off what you have learned, what is that going to change about you, or what are you going to walk away having confirmed or strengthened in your thinking and your action, or challenged or changed. We have a debrief style when we finish an experience, and we circle up with our group and we try and do this. And the way that we phrase it is, what, so what now? Why are you shaking your head?
I was walking up here,
Yep.
finishing work, walking up here, thinking like, what, so what, now what?
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I got to incorporate that somehow. And as you said, I got this phrase. I was like, oh, say it.
Come on.
I dare you.
So you have an experience and you say, what just happened? And that's dissecting it. What just happened? Then you move into, so what? Like, so what did you feel? So what did you learn? So what challenged you?
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? And then you have, what now? So let's take a really basic example. If a kid goes on climbing tower and is freaked out just getting clipped in, but makes it to the top and comes down, you would say, what happened? Well, I was really scared and I so desperately wanted you to unclip me, but we just took it one step at a time. And you say, okay, so what? You were scared, but you did it anyway. and you took it one step at a time, and then you move into the direction, like, what now? Well, I hope, and this is a very watered down basic example, you can say to a participant, well, I hope that you've learnt that even when you're scared, you can do hard things, and sometimes you just need to break it down into little steps. And so that's, what did you not learn about rock climbing? When you transition from year 6 to year 7 and you go to high school, it's going to be scary, but if you break it down into little steps, you can do it because you've just done this. Like, so it's the what, so what now?
I feel
Jump
like
in.
a lot of our activities are fear related in some sort.
I'm getting excited, so I'm standing up.
Oh, we're dancing. a lot of the activities have some sort of fear, whether it's just first time nerves, whether it's heights. A lot of the outdoor industry is heights, like swings, zip lines, high ropes, all that kind of stuff. And something that I've learnt and taught, which comes from 7 to 9 years ago from a Will Smith video.
Oh,
but he talks about
him slapping
before
someone?
he got
Oh,
slapped.
sorry, not that one.
Before things went south, he made a video, which is, I think it's still public, but it talks about the concept of fear and his experience with fear. And something I carry a lot and share is that fear is the before. It's the false evidence, the stuff that you think might happen that doesn't exist. And so when we do something like a swing or a high rope, so even just a rock climb, the fear on the ground when that kid's getting clipped in, he's in the safest spot he could possibly be. He's on the ground. He just has a rope attached to him.
Yeah.
And then when you go step by step and you get coached through, you might not make it to the top first try, but let's say for your example, he does. And then he comes down. He instantly knows that fear is not something you have to worry about. The fear's beforehand, and you can experience it, but you can push through it too. And once you get to the top, and then you realize that this is what Will says, the point of like maximum danger and the point where you should be the most scared is generally the point of like blissfulness. That's where you realize that the fear doesn't exist. And if we reflect on a lot of the activities we run day to day, you can see that. On a giant swing or something similar, just putting on the harness is where kids are the most nervous, or watching other people. But once they get up there and they pull the release and they're actually swinging, even though they're flying towards the ground, they're having an incredible time.
Yep.
And when you talk about what, so what, now what, it's that what just happened. All right, we ran into a wall of fear. So what? So what happened? How did it make you feel? What can we do with this information? And then now what? What does that mean moving forward? And it's kind of how we started the episode. It's what did you not learn at the swing?
Yeah.
You learnt that the fear is not, it's not there. It's not real.
Yeah.
It's all the beforehand. And once you actually pull the pin and you get into it, the point you should be the most scared is when you realize that everything's okay. Not all the time. We will clarify, not all the time, but
yep,
it's a key point to learn from. And the now what part of that is that you can take that lesson and apply it to literally anything.
Yeah.
Us filming episode 0, putting a mic on a stick and starting talking to ourselves is a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah.
But as you said in the first 30 seconds, you just feel way more comfortable now. That fear and that nervousness, it's like, we've got a bigger stick now. We're trying to be more proud of it. I love it.
You've just gone meta on that thing because, the only reason I can sit here and feel way more comfortable is because I went through the experience of a bit nervous, a bit uncomfortable because I've never done this before and it's a new experience. And now I've learned, I know what this looks like. And I have a little bit more experience. That's awesome.
Oh, let me keep going.
Please, dude.
You said...
Brace yourself. I'm bracing myself.
I'm bracing myself. And I know what it is. You said you don't want to play the game because if you don't play the game, you can't lose. What if you could play the game but still never lose because you're not losing? You're taking a lesson and you have to lose to learn. So your experience of board game. I'm getting you to play board games. This is it.
Dude, I'm having a moment.
I'm sorry. It's been a big week.
The sentence, dude, the sentence isn't if I don't play, I don't lose. The sentence is if I don't play, I don't learn.
There it is.
Oh, like, I'm not even kidding. Not for the sake of the podcast, but I'm actually holding back tears. Like, you don't know the wound that this is hitting. If I don't play, and this is bigger than a card game and a board game, but if I don't play, I don't learn. So I'm just going to be this version of me if I don't play. But if I play a podcast, as in like play the game of recording a podcast, I get to be this one right now that goes, I'm a little bit more comfortable.
I guess the question there is,
Oh, gosh.
you see games all the time. Games is going to become our quotation of like experiences or options, things you can buy into.
Yeah.
I guess you just need to choose what game do you want to play.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I guess for you,
So good.
you can choose to not play those board games.
Thank you.
Maybe one. We'll find one. Get some banana grams going. Something.
That's fine. Grandma and I used to play the game of life.
Yeah.
And the game Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. And they are hard hitting games anyway.
Oh.
I mentioned that there's a healthy way and an unhealthy way to learn from an experience. So we've just been talking about the healthy way. So I've just walked away from my phone, but it was dissection, break it down. Oh, thank you so much.
Delivery, sir.
Break it down, and then it was reflection. So reflect how you were thinking and feeling and what happened, and then direction. So what does that mean? It's the what now piece.
Where do we head from here? What do we do with this?
Yeah, like what was the point? Or what wasn't the point of doing the climbing, the rock climbing? What wasn't the point of it? What was the point of it? I would say that there are some things that can help you navigate learning from an experience better. And I'll give you time to think of an input, something that would help experiential learning. My first one would be a guide. I'm so sorry, was that the one that you were just...
I'm just going to put mine in the air so that I
Please,
don't
let's
forget
just
it,
bounce.
so we
Love
can
it.
remind each other.
Yep.
I think something that helps in that space is like a shared experience.
Nice.
So whether it is a guide
Yep.
or you're going in blind,
Yep.
having someone or multiple people in that space with you
Yep.
is super important.
Yeah.
Doing experiential learning by yourself is really hard.
Yeah.
I think. But
Yeah.
you go first.
Copy.
If I forget,
Copy. A
that's
shared
what-
experience. Okay, so, and this won't work in every experience because it just won't work. But in our industry, in the outdoor education industry, you and I are guides. And I would say late last year, a question was posed to us. And the question is, what are we guiding? What are we guiding?
not just people.
Not just people. And so I think about this, that you can go through an experience, and sometimes you individually might not have the tools to dissect, reflect, and direct, but somebody else might, and it's their job maybe to guide you through that, not tell you the answers. That isn't learning by an experience. If I just tell you, don't be scared of climbing up the 10-meter thing, it's not going to work. If you come back down and you say, and I say to you, you just shouldn't have been scared, like it doesn't work. You need a guide who is going to help you discover for yourself in the act of reflection and dissection and direction. And so somebody who can walk you, coach you, guide you through experiences are going to bring the gold out and highlight it and pose a question that you wouldn't have thought of by yourself. But somebody goes, well, what about this? Or I saw you do that and you didn't even know you did that. So let me reflect to you. Like, we need people that will help us along the way. So you and I have that job here at the campsite, that we're not just guiding climbing tower. We are guiding an experience, and we're guiding people's learning. We're kind of guiding the game.
Ooh.
If you want to know a good guide asks good questions. And I'm not going to touch that anymore because that's another episode.
I think it's next episode.
I think it's next.
What a
good
segue.
guide asks good questions. I'm not going to touch it now. Shared experience.
Yeah. So I think we're talking about the same concept.
Yeah.
In terms of, like a guide. I think if we want to get really, I don't know, political, judgmental, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, okay. I'll get political. I won't.
Whether we work in the industry or not, and we just said, hey, we both enjoy rock climbing, let's just go climb.
Mm-hmm.
You can guide me and I can guide you through the same experience, even if we have no experience there.
Yep.
I think that's what the twist of it is we bring people into an environment and a temporary space where we do this all the time.
Yep.
So we know this space really well and we can give you real solid foundations to work with.
Yep.
And ways to think outside the box, and we can offer great questions. But if we were to go out alone without that experience or knowledge or a trained guide, then you're probably not going to get the right questions. You're not going to get the gold.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you and I do every day is like that moment just before.
Yeah.
You'll find that gold piece and we're going to hold that and use it for the next 6 months.
I've written it down.
I haven't written it down, but when I watch this back,
yeah, I guess. Yeah. That's good.
So good. I think we're on the same page here.
Can I yes and?
Yes and.
I think you can be your own guide. There is circumstances that you can do it by yourself. Is that another plane?
I'm watching the flight paths and there's 3 that cross over above our head. And so we got planes coming from, I'm going to say that's north. All the planes coming out heading south.
Straight
and then
over
there's
us.
that one, which goes kind of from, what's that, east to northwest.
Yep.
As you were saying.
Yes, and. That was a good break for the listeners just to be like, oh, that was like drinking from a fire hydrant.
Digest.
That you can have an experienced guide you. You can have the people around you guide you. Or if you understand that any experience can be an experiential learning, there's moments that you can guide yourself. If you know how to ask a good question, you can ask yourself a good question. If you can reflect well with other people, you can probably do it within yourself. And this touching on a point that I'll get to a little bit later around that any experience can be experiential learning, but we'll come back, shall we?
Shall we?
So I'd say that's a healthy way of experiential learning. Let me just quickly dip into an unhealthy way. Okay, so an unhealthy way to learn is by experiencing some degree of chaos, which is the experience.
Mm.
You have an unconscious agreement. And the last one is reaction. It's a little bit left of field. Let me break it down. Okay.
I'm with you.
So if you understand in a healthy light, if you understand you're in an experience, then you know that whatever unfolds is the experience. If you don't know you're in an experience, I describe that as like chaos. And it's not like out of control, but you don't even know. It's just chaos happening around you. You don't even know. And what happens is you then unconsciously agree with the things that you've learnt but don't know that you've learnt it because it's unhealthy. So for example, playing board games with my grandma was chaos. And I unconsciously, because I didn't have a guide, because I didn't know what was happening internally for me, I unconsciously agreed that I hate playing games because I hate losing, and I didn't learn from it. And so then the last one is reaction. So now every time I play a game, if I lose, I'm a sore loser. That's my reaction to my unconscious agreement of an experience, of the chaos. And sometimes that can pan out well, but I'd say for a kid, sometimes that, or anything, that can pan out really negatively. And I would say it's an unhealthy way of learning from an experience, is that it's chaotic, and whatever I experience and whatever I unconsciously agree with, I'm just going to react out of that place. And I think we probably majority learn like that. Because I want to say that my last point of talking about experiential learning is this. is that every experience that we have, we can learn something from. So you and I just dived into the fact that you juggled and that I played board games with grandma. And they are very mundane experiences, but they're still experiences. So, for example, a friend of mine went on a trip to Canada last year and has always wondered how maple syrup was made. And
I've heard this story.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into the absolute depths of it.
No, it's...
But my friend learned how maple syrup was made. And through that experience, what they didn't learn about how maple syrup was made was that there was like a deep realization that the things that we learn have to be distilled. And that's the process of making maple syrup. You take the sap from a tree and you distill it over a low heat for a long time and it produces something else. And so my friend, I just got a mad hit of smoke right in my mouth.
I'm in the sweet spot. I haven't
really are.
Had it all night.
And so my friend had a very mundane-ish experience of some person telling him and showing him how maple syrup was made. But he knows experiential learning and he's gone, oh my goodness, what am I not learning about maple syrup? And so it can happen all the time anywhere. We just made a reflection about what we've learned about podcasting or what we haven't learned. And so it can happen all around us. And if you're a good guide, you'll be able to navigate yourself and the people around you to learn some things and gain resolve, have progress in dissonance. I'm just tying up all the loose ends, man.
No, this is incredible.
And if I can tap into maybe another episode, it produces stories. So like you and I have just rattled off stories, and it's because they're experiences that they translate into a narrative that have taught us something, and that stays with me. I had jotted down another story that's phenomenal and will stay with me for the rest of my life. I really want to tell it just for the sake of telling it because it's a great story. Do you want to throw anything in before I do?
You need some oxygen, my friend.
No, I'm happy. I just didn't want to move on and you be like, I have some thoughts.
No, without going into the whole maple story, the part that sticks with me isn't distilling is obviously a big part, and arguably this is distilling anyway. But
yeah.
It's like 40 litres or something of maple that make one little jar.
Yep.
That you buy at the supermarket. Like 40 litres.
Yeah, it's a huge amount for such a little. Yeah.
So for let's go metaphorically.
I love it.
That like jar is your lesson or your outcome.
Yep.
We need to experience like 40 litres worth of something.
Guide me through it, Lockie. This is beautiful. Guide me there.
We have to experience or undergo like 40 litres of something. And I think let's just keep looping back to juggling and board games.
Yep.
Like 40 litres of dropping, 40 litres of playing
Losing.
board games and losing to get the outcome and the understanding.
Yep.
If you do it once or twice, you could get an understanding and you could get a lesson from it.
It's going to be an unconscious agreement, though.
Yeah. Sorry, story of a lifetime.
No, it's good.
It's going to stay with you forever.
I was staring at the fire and was going to leave a bit of a pause.
Okay.
So I had this story, and perhaps we finish with this into a question for next podcast episode.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, I don't know how long we've been going for, but it feels right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all about the feel, the vibe.
So I mentioned before, a part of my job is taking young adults on an experience, and we travel to different campsites. So about 2 years ago, we traveled to Queensland, and I took our interns up there, and we stopped in a bunch of different campsites. One of the campsites we went to had kayaking, and the site that we are at doesn't have kayaking. So new experience for everyone.
We don't have water anywhere.
Nothing we can bank on anyway. And so we go kayaking, we have a bunch of fun, we're playing a bunch of games and we learn how to do it. And then we're coming in and we've got about maybe like 20 minutes left of the session. And the guide of that campsite says to us, does anyone want to learn how to roll a kayak? And so he demonstrates, he's sat in a kayak and he rolls under, so his body's fully submerged and the kayak is upside down. And then with no help from anyone else, he can push himself back up and he stays in the kayak. And it's pretty sick. And one of our interns let's call her Sally,
We love Sally.
because otherwise I'm going to drop a name. Sally goes, yes, I'm in. Sally gets into the kayak, and basically the guide says to her, okay, we're going to break it down into steps, and here's the first step. I'm going to roll your kayak under with you in it, and what you have to do is you have to reach out of the water with your hands and kind of like slide your hands up and down the body of the kayak, because it's a way to test if you're like stuck on anything. And then you're going to stay there and you're going to count to 5 seconds in your head. And when you've done that, you're going to tap the kayak, and then the guide will flip Sally the right way up again. Okay. So I'm standing like shin deep in the water watching this experience, and I'm not really switched on. I'm like, this is just a learning skill. So Sally gets in the kayak, and the guide tips her upside down, and you see Sally's hands come up out of the water, slide up and down the kayak, and then go under, and she's then counting for 5 seconds. It seems like 5 seconds to us because we're just watching.
It's not underwater.
Yeah, it goes pretty quick. Her hands come back out, and she slaps the kayak to be turned over, and the guide flips the kayak back. And Sally pops back out of the water, and she looks at me as she takes a breath. And I cannot describe it in any other way, but Sally looks different. Like something has changed, something has happened, and I was like, what is going on? And she was kind of like looking at me with this like shock expression on her face. And I said to her, Sally, what just happened? And she was like, I was flipped under and I did all the things, and the 5 seconds felt like it was the quietest my head has ever been in my life. And she, thinks a lot and at a fast pace and all the time. And has been her story. And that's been her unconscious agreement, perhaps. She flips upside down, and she has to like compose herself to count to 5 seconds. And she said afterwards that she had nothing else to think about. She just had to count to 5, and she was just under the water. And so when she popped back up, she was like, it's been the first time that I can remember that my head went quiet. And like, phenomenal. Anyway, so she then follows the guide in the other steps of learning how to flip a kayak. And later that evening, we bring up the experience and we do the what now? And she had learnt this skill that she can now internally, quote unquote, roll the kayak. And she can understand that she's thinking really fast, and maybe she's like quick to jump in, or might be like stressed about something, or she's overthinking, and she's had an experience where she goes, hang on, roll the kayak. And she can like switch into that experience that she's learnt, that she can count to 5, she can quiet her mind, she knows how to do it, and then she can like re-engage in a different way. And she just learnt something from such an incredible experience. And maybe I haven't done a great job of unpacking the significance of that in the story, because it's very hard to, but I will never forget that story. And I tell it as many times as I can to different people to be like, this is why I do what I do, because participants have that moment where potentially their life will never be the same again if they learn from the experience in a healthy way. Oh, man.
I got shivers, and it's not because it's cold. I think that's the 40 litres. You've gone through all these experiences.
Yeah.
40 litres worth, and that is your jar of maple. That's the sweet thing that you found, is that rolling the kayak.
I love that.
And without going through all those adventures and moments, you never even know. You don't even know maple exists.
No.
You're still stuck on honey.
Dude, if you don't play, you don't get maple.
Oh. Say that to someone and see what the reaction is.
Oh man, that's good.
I think this will be an awesome time for us to roll our kayak.
Love it.
I think it'd be a good time to wrap up.
Love it.
Currently, even though it's going to be quite a few weeks before we get back together, and give us lots of time to distill and think. But the question I want to focus on at this. Oh, I just saw that,
dude.
You just had
I just got singed by the fire on my leg.
Just flew straight at you.
Oh man, that hurt. Yeah.
The question I would like to ask. We're talking about how to ask good questions next week. So I want to ask you, what is a good question that you've been asked, and what have you learned from that? Just so we can tie both episodes together.
There it is, Lockie. I had fun. See you next time.
Boom. These bloody planes, mate. Get out of it.